All right, so today we're jumping into a wild story out of Busan. It all starts out as this amazing vacation, but it just completely unravels into a total nightmare with mobsters, a huge multi-million-dollar deal, and, a desperate fight for your life.
I mean, that's a question you hope you never ever have to ask yourself, right? But for this one group of friends, that's exactly what happened. So we're going to break down how a couple of simple mix-ups and one really, really big mistake just set off this insane chain reaction.
So, picture this. You've got two totally different stories happening at the exact same time. On one track, you've got this dark, criminal plot brewing. And on the other, a bunch of friends just looking to have a good time. You just know these two worlds are about to smash into each other, and it is not going to be pretty.
And just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got this really grim situation, a news report flashing the face of Im Ji-yeon, calling her a killer on the loose. And on the other side, a totally different universe. A group of friends, all laughing and planning their trip to Busan, with zero clue what's actually waiting for them there.
You'd think their meeting had to be part of some grand scheme, right? But the reality is just so much more chaotic. It wasn't some big, elaborate conspiracy that brought these people together. Nope. It was just a simple accident. A classic case of being in the absolute worst place at the absolute worst time.
So, what's at the heart of this whole mess? Well, it's a classic plot device, something filmmakers call a MacGuffin. In this case, it's a bag, just a plain old bag. To the tourists, it looks like any other piece of luggage. But to Ji-yeon and the gangsters hunting her down, that bag is, well, it's everything. It's the one thing that connects all of them and really gets the whole story rolling.
And boom, just like that, the whole situation explodes. 1 second, they're just tourists having fun, and the next, they're being held at gunpoint. That one sentence just shatters their whole vacation and yanks them right into this terrifying hostage situation. The stakes are officially life and death.
Okay, but here's where things get interesting. We start to realize pretty quickly that the news report we saw, it didn't tell the whole story, not even close. This whole chase, this desperation, it's not actually about the murder that Ji-yeon's been accused of. The real reason behind all this is way more personal, and the stakes are much, much bigger than we thought.
And this is the question that starts to hang over everything. I mean, the police report was pretty clear. It painted her as a killer. But her actions, how incredibly desperate she is to get that bag, something just doesn't add up. It's a huge clue for the tourists, and for us, that there's a much bigger story going on here.
$5 million. That's it. That's what this is all about. This is the number that changes everything. It's not some small-time deal. We're talking about a massive pile of laundered mob money. And it's the real reason everyone involved is willing to kill.
So here's the real plan, and it is seriously twisted. You've got this corrupt manager laundering money for the mob. One of his employees, Son Ye, decides to steal it. So what does he do? He kills her, frames her best friend Ji-yeon for the crime, and then kidnaps Ji-yeon's little niece, Moran, to force Ji-yeon to get the money back for him. It's just an absolutely cold and brutal scheme.
And that is what Ji-yeon is really after. It all clicks into place. She's not some killer on the run. She's a terrified aunt who is in a desperate race against the clock. For her, that bag isn't about the money, it's not about evidence, it holds the only key to saving her family.
This reveal is a massive turning point. The second the tourists hear that there's a kidnapped kid involved, you can almost see the switch flip. Their fear starts to morph into something else. They stop seeing Ji-yeon as a threat and start to see her as just another victim. Their role changes from hostage to a very unwilling partner in crime.
And then, just to make things even more insane, this happens. In all the chaos, they get into a fight with a police officer, and now suddenly the tourists are also wanted by the cops. They are completely stuck. They can't go to the authorities, they can't go home. Their only option is to stick with Ji-yeon and see this thing through. Like it or not, they're all in it together now. So just look at how everyone's goals have completely flipped. The tourists went from let's have a nice vacation to let's survive and maybe rescue a child. Ji-yeon went from trying to prove her innocence to just needing to save her niece. And even the detective on the case realizes he's not just chasing one murderer anymore, he's stumbled his way into a huge criminal syndicate. So all these different paths, all these desperate people, they're all heading to one single place for an absolutely explosive final showdown. The stakes could not possibly be any higher. This is it. One last crazy chance to make the exchange, save the little girl, and somehow,
Just somehow get out of this alive.
And the climax is just pure, non-stop chaos. It kicks off with this super tense meeting at a lighthouse. Then comes the betrayal, because of course the villains were never going to let them walk away. That sparks this insane car chase where the brakes fail, and it all leads to this final brutal fight for Milan's life. It's just one thing after another, with everything on the line.
So, after all that madness, where does everyone end up? Well, Mirin is finally safe with her aunt. The bad guys get what's coming to them. And that $5 million, in this perfect little twist, it gets anonymously donated to a hospital charity. And for our heroes, there's finally a moment of quiet and maybe even a chance at a new beginning.
But there's one final, really complicated detail that just hangs in the air. A priest who gets tangled up in the final chase ends up killing one of the villains with his car. And his justification for it is just chilling. He says, "All things are the will of the Lord." It just throws this whole fascinating moral question into the mix right at the very end.
And that's really the question we're left with. The good guys won. The child was saved, but some serious lines were crossed to get there. It really makes you wonder, when you're fighting for something good, for the right reasons, can doing the wrong thing ever really be justified? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.